Hi everyone, this is the second video on the chapter A House is Not a Home. And if you haven't watched my first video on the chapter, I recommend you watching that video first before you continue watching this video. The second lows in the life of the narrator, Sam, took place one Sunday afternoon. He and his mother were inside the house. He was doing his homework while his mother was stoking the fire to keep the house warm and comfortable. The day was so cold and windy, and his pet cat was also beside him. The bond between Sam and his cat was very strong. When the cat was a kitten, she was rescued by Sam. Since then, she was with him. Suddenly, he noticed the smoke filling the room from the ceiling, and within a few seconds, it filled the room, and they could hardly see anything. You could imagine how difficult it is to come out of a room which is full of smoke. However, Sam and his mother somehow managed to come outside. Because it was windy outside, by the time the roof had caught the fire, which spread quickly. Sam ran to the neighbors to call the fire department, while his mother ran inside the house, which was on fire. Why she ran inside? After a few minutes, she came out of the house carrying a metal box with full of important documents. Suddenly, she remembered something. She threw the metal box on the lawn and ran again inside the house. This time, Sam was very sure why she was going back. Inside the house, there were certain pictures and letters of his late father. In order to save those things, his mother ran inside the house. Those letters and pictures were the only memories of her husband. In the absence of them, she had no life. For her, the house in which they lived earlier became a home in the presence of Sam and these pictures and letters of her dead husband. That's why she took the risk going inside the house in order to save those pictures and letters. Sam, on the other hand, screamed at her not to go inside the house. Because for Sam, the house in which he lived became a home in the presence of his mother and little cat. He knew very well that he would not have a life in the absence of his mother, so that he was about to run after her to the burning house. But he couldn't run into the burning house because there was a fireman who was holding his hand tightly. The fireman was not emotional, he was rational, so that he couldn't let the child go inside the house because it was dangerous. But Sam, he was so emotional, who found there was no life in the absence of his mother, had tried his level best to free himself from the grasp of the fireman to go inside the burning house. So he was yelling like, "You don't understand, my mother isn't there!" It says that because he knew very well that the fireman would never understand that he would not have a life in the absence of his mother. However, the fireman didn't allow Sam going inside. He rather comforted him, saying that his mother would be okay because there were other firefighters who would rescue her. Yes, they rescued her. They brought her outside the burning house. However, she was not completely conscious as she had inhaled smoke. So the fireman put an oxygen mask on her mouth. It took almost around 5 hours for the fireman to control the fire. By the time the house was completely burnt down, it was the time he realized about the third loss of his life, that was nothing but the missing of his pet cat. He became sad and filled with lots of depressing thoughts. He was feeling like he was born only to suffer in his life. He was suffering many losses. The thoughts of adjusting to the new school, burning of his house, missing of his pet cat made him cry. He cried and cried and cried. Even though the fire was controlled, the fireman didn't allow them go inside the house that night because it was still dangerous, so that he had no idea whether his cat was dead or alive. From the time the cat was rescued by the narrator, she has been with him, but now she is not with him. How much pain a teenager like Sam can bear in life. What all he did wrong in his life to suffer like this. Why the God was so rude and unmerciful to him. Or was it a plan of God? Realizing the fact that finding answers for this question is quite difficult, let me conclude my session here. Bye.